Hey guys, how's it going? It's Infernomen again. Welcome back to another video, and this time I wanted to continue my series where I take a popular show or anime and give Pokemon teams to a few of the main characters. Today I will be showing you all the teams I made for characters from Rick and Morty. This is the first show I've done a video on that only has one solid group of characters to make teams for, so it was really easy. Those characters are Rick, Morty, Summer, Jerry, and Beth. I give myself a few rules for these videos, so I'll remind you of those rules now. The first rule is to make sure every character has a full team of 6. I want to represent each character to the fullest, so giving them 2 Pokemon is not enough. The next rule is to not use too many Pokemon based on appearance. Saying that a certain Pokemon looks like a character is just an opinion, as I wanted my teams to be as accurate to the character's personality and features as possible. Finally, only 1 legendary is allowed per team, but mythicals do not count as long as they have nothing to do with appearance. Just a warning before I begin, this will go over things that happen over all seasons of the show. If you are interested in viewing Rick and Morty in the future, I'd advise you to click away for now. With that all out of the way, let me present to you my teams for Rick and Morty. Starting off with Rick Sanchez is a scientist who builds his life around visiting different reaches of space and traveling through dimensions. He travels with his grandson Morty, who has similar ambitions as Rick. The only difference is that Morty is pretty much a wimp. Since Rick is the fearless counterpart of the duo, I decided to give him a Glycopod. For the next Pokemon spawn on Rick's team, I gave him a Lucario. In Lucario's Diamond Pokédex entry, it states, it has the ability to sense the auras of all things, and understands human speech. This would be very useful to Rick on his team because he could use Lucario to communicate to other Pokemon, specifically his, so he wouldn't have to waste his time inventing a device that would allow him to speak to them. The next Pokemon on his team would be a Metagross. According to Metagross's Ruby Pokédex entry, Metagross has 4 brains in total. Combining the 4 brains can breeze through difficult calculations faster than a supercomputer. With Pokemon as high in intelligence such as Metagross in existence, Rick would most definitely go out of his way to catch one for his team. The next Pokemon on his team would be a shiny Pyukumuku, and the only explanation can be given in 2 words. The mythical Pokemon Hoopa lands on his team because it can create portals, which is something that even non-viewers of the show can recognize as a trait of Rick. Of course he'd keep it in its unbound form, because who knows what he'd do to it in its other form. The final Pokemon on Rick's team is his Circuitry, which happens to be the Pokemon on his team that is based on appearance. It would also be a Pokemon he'd find really amusing because for 1, it comes from another dimension, and 2, it's a common organism in its home world. And Rick would love nothing more than catching it to study how it takes. Moving on from Rick, the next character to get a team is Morty. As I mentioned before, Morty's the wimpier counterpart of the main duo, and since Rick received a Glycopod, it would only make sense if Morty had a Wimpod. In one of the earlier episodes, Rick sends Morty into the body of a dying man to enter a theme park that Rick had built called Anatomy Park. Since it's obviously based on Jurassic Park, I decided to give him Tyrantrum, a Pokemon based on a T-Rex. In another episode with non-PG content, Morty accidentally creates a child, which he has to raise throughout the episode. This child, named Morty Jr., has multiple arms spreading out of its body, so I gave him Barbaracle, a Pokemon with a similar description. He also receives a Blacephalon on his team as a reference to Morty's Mind Blowers, an experiment created by Rick to take specific memories out of Morty's brain to be re-injected into his mind later. Mind Blown is Blacephalon's signature move, so it would make sense for Morty to have one. The next spawn on Morty's team goes to Salamis as a reference to a recent episode when Morty gets to decide the next mission, which was to get him a dragon. I gave him a Salamis specifically because it's a more ruthless pseudo-legendary dragon, unlike Dragonite, who is usually kind-spirited. The final Pokemon Morty receives is Xatu because of the episode where Rick and Morty find a bunch of crystals that show how you will die, leading to Morty spending the episode trying to live his life so that he can die married to his crush Jessica. In multiple Pokédex entries, it states that Xatu can see the future and the past, which most likely implies that the past is what contributes to the future. Moving on from Morty, the next character to receive a team is Summer, Morty's sister. Since Summer is based on a typical modern teenage girl, I gave her a Gothorita, which will tie into one of Beth's Pokemon later on. For the same reason I gave her a Lopunny, a Pokemon that I often view as having the design of a teenager fused with a rabbit. As a reference to the episode where Rick takes Morty and Summer to a post-apocalyptic world similar to Mad Max, which ends up leading to Summer falling in love with a warrior and sort of becoming one herself, I gave her an Alolan Marowak. She catches it while in this world, but when Rick forces her to come back, she decides to keep it. In a recent episode, Rick, Morty, and Summer travel to a planet inhabited by parasites that latch onto your face and use your body to walk around. At the beginning of the episode, Morty ends up getting his parasite off of his face on accident, so he takes Rick's off too. They spend the episode trying to find Summer, only to find out she's being treated like the planet's queen. Because of this, I gave her a Vespiquen, a Pokemon that is the queen bee of its species. The next Pokemon's reference is a major spoiler to the end of Season 2, so if you don't want any of those, click away for now. Earlier in the show, Summer's friend Tammy gets into a relationship with Rick's friend Bird Person, and they get engaged, and have their wedding in the second season's finale. When Tammy is about to say I do, she reveals that she and her parents are Federation agents, and she kills Bird Person. Since Summer feels like it's her fault for introducing Tammy to Bird Person, she catches a Hawlucha that she names Bird Person to honor him. The last Pokemon on her team is a Wishy-Washy, as a reference to the episode where Summer accidentally uses a growth ray to increase her size to be massive. Since Wishy-Washy swims in schools to become a much larger Pokemon, it just seemed like the most fitting Pokemon to add to her team to reference this episode. The next hero to receive a team is Beth, Rick's daughter and Morty's mother. Beth is very skeptical and worried about the safety of her child when her father reveals that he would be taking Morty on more adventures with him, as a mother would be. Being the daughter of Rick, however, she becomes accustomed to the life that she lives, being more affiliated with her father's work, and even tags along on some missions. Since she's a very kick-ass mother figure in the series, I decided that the returner, the legendary Pangoro, would be on her team. I also gave her a Kangaskhan because even though she's involved in the things her father does from time to time, she's still very protective of her children. One of the most notable things about Beth's relationship with her husband Jerry is the fact that it's very similar to Rick and Morty's. She's the more demanding one in the relationship who lifts the heavy load, while Jerry attempts to put his foot down, but gets shoved to the side because he's wimpy. I decided to give Beth a Salazzle in this case, which probably makes one of Jerry's Pokemon pretty obvious. Because I gave Summer a Gothorita earlier, I decided to give Beth a Gothitelle since her daughter has its pre-evolution. Toward the end of Season 3, Rick creates a robot version of Beth programmed with all of her memories to take care of her children and Jerry while she spends time traveling through space. I thought a Pokemon that can use Substitute would be a perfect representation of this, and what better Pokemon would that be other than Greninja? Greninja's counter move in Super Smash Bros. Happens to be Substitute, and it's a very kick-ass Pokemon in general. The final Pokemon in Beth's team is a Parasect, as a reference to the episode where a group of parasites invade the Smith home and attach themselves to everyone's brains to create different characters that convince them all that they've been part of their family the whole time. I gave Beth Parasect specifically as a reference to Sleepy Gary, the parasite who pretended to be Beth's second husband and Jerry's lover. Moving on from Beth, the final character to receive a team is Jerry. Jerry is Morty's father, and he isn't usually very respected throughout the show. I mentioned his relationship with Beth earlier and how she receives a Salazzle, so of course Jerry would have a male Salandit. He would also have a Mimikyu because he's often disregarded, so you'd find that a Mimikyu is very relatable considering it uses a Pikachu cloak just to get noticed. He also has a Rockruff as a reference to Snowball, the Smith's old dog, in an episode where Rick and Jerry go on a mission together. They meet a talking cat that Jerry befriends. On the other hand, Rick tells Jerry that he can't trust the cat and keeps it in a cage. I decided to give Jerry a Meowth because it's very obvious that in a Rick and Morty universe with Pokemon, that talking cat would be a Meowth. As a reference to Mr. Meeseeks, a creature created by Rick that can be summoned to do any task you want with the push of a button, I gave Jerry a Ditto since they technically asexually reproduce. The final Pokemon Jerry receives is a Wynot. I wanted to give Jerry a baby Pokemon because of the episode where Rick and Morty drop Jerry off at a daycare for other Jerrys, and I decided on Wynot because it evolves into Wobbuffet, the punching bag Pokemon. Well guys, there you have it. Those are the teams I came up with for characters from Rick and Morty. As of right now, I haven't decided on what show I want to do the next video on, so let me know down in the comments what you think I should do, and I'll tell you whether or not I've seen it. Also be sure to let me know if you disagree with any of the Pokemon I chose, and tell me what Pokemon you would have put on their teams. That's going to do it for this video, so make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified about future uploads on my channel. This is Infernomen birding out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.